The football is back, Pogba's back, and Red Devil Chronicle are back as well. Well, one of us anyway. It's Andy with you. I'm going to talk all the updates of what's to come for this season next. Cue the music. It's good to be back, isn't it? Here we go then, new season with Red Devil Chronicle, and we would have loved to have been back in the studio to celebrate and of course have a big predictor show, but you're going to have to wait just a week or two longer for that. Unfortunately, producer Joe is still working to get us back in the studio. There have been a lot of upgrades going on again over the summer, and so unfortunately you're left with just me for now. What I'm going to do is just have a quick chat through what's new with the channel. You'll have seen some big announcements if you follow our Twitter page at WeFollowUnited. And I'm also going to talk about what you can expect from the podcast this season, what's new, and we're going to talk some of the stuff from the fan takeover that we did on Monday, and maybe have a little prediction about Bournemouth at the weekend on Sunday. So let's start, of course, with ourselves. It's been a quiet summer on the whole, certainly from the podcast side of things anyway, which we apologise for the delay on. We have been working hard, as I say, to get hold of the studio back ready for the new season. I'm also personally working on a home studio to avoid problems like this going forward. So we're currently in the process of painting at the moment, so there's still a bit of a way to go with it at the moment. But we've got things coming along nicely. Within the next couple of weeks, we're hoping that I'll be ready, furnished, and set to go. So if we can't get to the studio, you'll be able to hear myself, Nick, and producer Joe from the new home studio. That's the plans anyway. With regards to the channel itself, though, obviously big news has still come about, as you'll have seen on Twitter, as I say. Red Devil Chronicle are proud to announce that we are now official partner of the Stretford End app. If you haven't already downloaded this app, it's a superb app. It's an encyclopedia for every Manchester United fan. So get to your app store if you're on Apple or Android. Get to your app store now, Stretford End app, download it, give it a go. Let them know what you think of it. It's a brilliant app, and we're looking forward to working with them in the future. So with regards to what you can see from ourselves coming up, you'll have seen the announcement also about the Twitter features that are back, the fan takeover being one of them, which we'll run into in just a minute. That's back on Monday, every single Monday from 12 p.m. It's a new poll every 45 minutes. It's just you have your vote, have your say, and we discuss them on the podcast. Tuesday was making the headlines, which is a new feature to the channel. That'll be with you from 12 o'clock every Tuesday to keep you going through work and through the evening, keep you busy. We're going to put a picture or a story, probably both for next week, one of each out there, and just ask for you what the headline would be, in your opinion, and the funnier the better. So it's just a little bit of fun to get you through Tuesday. Wednesday saw the return of the very popular game that took off last season, either, whichever way around you want to do that. Very confusing game to say, very easy to play. So it's just two options effectively on a poll, and you pick your winner. Some of them a little bit less serious than perhaps some that we put up on the fan takeover, but again, just a bit of midweek fun. We are going to be introducing some other features to the Twitter page on a regular basis towards the latter stages, possibly, of the week. Yet to be confirmed, though, so I'll keep those under wraps for the time being, and hopefully be an announcement about them soon. And with regards to the podcast going forward, well, a couple of new potential features. There's going to be a quiz introduced into the podcast where I'm going to be the quiz master, and I'm going to be putting Nick against producer Joe. And we're inviting all United fans to get involved on a phone as well to represent the fans in the quiz as well. That quiz will be powered by the Stretford End app, so they will be supplying the questions for that. And hopefully, who knows, over time, hopefully we can bring in a proper phone-in competition, a winner stays on format, and a lot more to that. So we're looking to grow and develop that as a feature as the season progresses. We're also planning a feature between myself and Nick around some sort of presenter battle. Again, to be confirmed on the exact details of that. I won't go into too much information, but it sounds fun from the initial conversation we've had around it. And we're also going to introduce, hopefully, the Premier League by Dice. So I'm not going to do it on this podcast. I will be rolling to see what the results are, and I might put a little table of fixtures out there with the results from what we got and compare them against the weekend. But with the unpredictable nature of the Premier League, of course, with Leicester winning last season, we thought we're going to see just how unpredictable it is. Is it, for example, as unpredictable as rolling dice to decide the results? We're going to find out. It should be interesting to see how the table matches up at the end of the season, so that should be a good bit of fun as well. In the meantime, if you want to get involved in a bit of a predictor game, I personally today have written down my 1 to 20 in order of how I think the Premier League will finish. I'm going to put that away in an envelope and store it safely until the end of the season, at which point we will open it up on the end of the season show and see just how wrong I was. If you want to get involved in that as well too, you can either do it at home, as I say, in the same format as I've done, or you're more than welcome also to email us at reddevilchronicle at gmail.com or contact at reddevilchronicle.com. The choice is yours. If you email your 1 to 20 over to us, we will keep them and we will go through them at the end of the season and see who was the most accurate out of everyone. So that's a little taster of what's to come from us in the season going forward. Of course, we might as well, whilst we're here, catch up a little bit on Manchester United, being as that's what we're here for. So, very good summer for Manchester United. Not so much in terms of the pre-season games, which have been a bit hit and miss for all manner of reasons, but in terms of the transfer activity, it's blown us away in terms of what we've been able to do compared against the last 3, maybe 4 seasons, maybe even longer. Incredible signing, of course. Zlatan Ibrahimovic came in on a free, just paying his wages. But a fantastic signing, marquee player. In the twilight of his career, as we all know, but a fantastic addition. And I'm hoping he does as much off the pitch for the likes of Rashford and Martial as he's able to do on it. So fingers crossed there. Of course, he got the winner in the Community Shield against Leicester, which is always a good start. We've also brought in Mkhitaryan, who I personally think, or thought, pre-Pogba, might be the signing of the summer. I hope he gets given a chance to play in the position that he deserves. I really think that he could flourish centrally behind Ibrahimovic. I think you need pace out wide. And although he glides past players, I don't know if naturally he would suit being out sort of wide right for us. I think he needs to be in the centre, really influencing the game. The amount of assists he got for Dortmund suggests to me that he probably should be played through the middle. That would probably be at the expense of Wayne Rooney, which might be an unpopular shout. And of course, now that Pogba's come in, the biggest secret of the summer, I think there might be a chance that Mkhitaryan maybe plays from the right if Pogba is number 10. Wayne Rooney's future for me and for Nick as well. I won't speak on behalf of producer Joe because I don't know where he currently stands. But Rooney, for me, is definitely on the way out. But a great summer in terms of transfer activity. We've got Bailly as well coming at the back to hopefully partner Smalling going forward. Looks raw, but full of energy. Got a bit of pace about him. And defended resolutely against Leicester on the whole. Maybe could have been sent off for nearly taking off Jamie Vardy's head. But he gets involved in the play. We'll see how that plays out in the Premier League. But I think he'll adapt. I think under Jose as well. Just give it time there. I think defensively he'll get us very, very solid. Which is something we've really been lacking. I know people have criticisms about the way Jose sometimes played his football at Chelsea, but I really think we need to be more solid at the back and in terms of our defensive midfield for cover as well. So I'm hoping he can reorganise that going forward. I'm very excited for the season. I don't know if we're going to win the Premier League. I'm not going to try and put the dampeners on now. I think we'll get very close. I think it's between the two Manchester clubs from the way this summer's panned out. There's a couple of factors potentially that you could argue either way for whether United or City will win it. I think a lot depends on how Pep adapts to the Premier League, whether or not he can keep players fit. There's a spine of the squad there that regularly do not stay fit in company. Gundogan, of course, who they've now brought in, you'd imagine would be playing if not injured. And Aguero, of course, who usually misses half the season but somehow is always up there for the Golden Boot. So I think there's a couple of factors in there, and it also they've brought in a lot of youth. They seem to be building something for the future, players to come through in the likes of Sane and of course others. So I think there'll be a really, really tough battle between the two Manchester clubs to who gets there. I think it might be a bit of a jump for us from where we've come from. Even with the signings we've got in, I can't guarantee success from all of them. So I would probably say we might finish second. Hopefully, if some of the factors I've just discussed with City go awry, then maybe we can pit them to the title. Let us know what you think, though, at We Follow United on Twitter. Do you think United will win the Premier League? We're going to discuss the thoughts of fans' reaction on that already that we've had in from the fan takeover. We did put the poll out there to see where you thought Manchester United might finish this season, so certainly interested to see what you had to say on that. And that will be coming up in just a moment's time. I just quickly want to cover the Community Shield. It gave me a lot to ponder, and I'm sure for yourselves as well. As much to ponder as there was to be excited about was the way I think I put it out on Twitter. In that there are players out there that you wonder what the future holds for them, Wayne Rooney being the biggest of those who had a really off day. Marouane Fellaini was started. You'd assume with the signings coming in that would be to a lesser extent, but still maybe has a role as an impact player, potentially, who knows. What also for the future of players like Matteo Darmian, who started really well pre-season under Louis van Gaal, looked a great talent and then had his confidence shot, and since then has faded and now been linked with a move away. Also, of course, Bastian Schweinsteiger, a great player in the past. For me, you can't be too sentimental in football, and he was not good enough last season. The legs do look like they've gone, so there's a concern there also. But just to go into a little bit more detail on the Leicester game, just to finish up this section before we move on through the fan takeover, just want to get your thoughts on the game. There's not really much for me to cover, as I say, on it. It was good to get the win, but as I say, a lot to ponder going forward for United about how we set up best, which we'll also discuss in the fan takeover. But we asked you for your scores out of 10 and one-line review for the Leicester game in the Community Shield. And I'm going to start with one of my favourites, the first one that came in, possibly one of the best reviews we've ever had. 6 out of 10 we got from Chris Barrett. 6 out of 10 with the comment, "It was alright." I could end it there. I'll read out a couple of others. So, at Cogsy666 says 6 out of 10, going in the right direction, but improvements still need to be made. At Big C75 says a little LVG-ish in the first half, better in the second, 6.5 out of 10. Copious Opium goes with 7 out of 10. Let down by poor back pass, but looked fairly safe at the back. Okay, going forward, much more to come. At J_Tazza gives it a 7 also. The start of a difficult but rewarding journey. Silverware is silverware. Bring on the next trophy. At Bucko7 says 5 out of 10 work in progress. That would probably where mine would lie as well. And at C Clay 1978 United says 6 out of 10. Some positives to take, and Jose will get them going. Bailly impressive. Pogba to come in too, which of course he has now. And that has that affected where Manchester United will finish in the Premier League this year? We'll discuss that next and a bit more in the fan takeover. So as I say, every Monday from 12 o'clock it's the fan takeover where you get your questions answered. Feel free to send them in at We Follow United on Twitter. You can also direct message us or email us at reddevilchronicle@gmail.com. The options are all there, so please do get in touch. We're always interested to get your questions in, to fire them out and see what the general consensus is. And that's what we're going to discuss now briefly during the fan takeover part of the podcast. So, starting up with where we left off in the last section then, we asked you this week, where do you think United will finish in the Premier League this season? First, second or third in terms of an automatic Champions League spot, fourth or outside the top four? And I think the summer business has perhaps certainly bred some confidence, shall we say, at the very least in Manchester United fans for the season coming ahead. So not a single person voted for outside the top four, which of course is where we finished last season. Perhaps good then to see that the new manager and new arrivals have put us beyond where Louis van Gaal was able to take us. Only 3% went for fourth spot, so this is what I'm talking about in terms of huge confidence. Second and third spot for an automatic Champions League spot, that was 41% of the fans went for that, and 56% taking the win went with top spot, went for first. And that, as I say, says a lot about how far the club has come over this short term, over the summer. A lot of buzz and a lot of excitement around the club again. Some comments that came in on this one, at Cogsy666 says, not going to get too carried away yet, just sticking with top three for now. At Big C75 says, with the new signings, I'd be disappointed anything lower than second. At CClay1978 United was loving the positive attitude from RDC followers, and I can't fault them for that. Everyone who got involved in that, very positive stuff indeed. And at Jambuck0 says, wants us to finish first, but not sure if that's realistic for Jose's first season. Jose does have a tremendous record, of course, but as you say, it would be a huge ask in terms of where the club has come from. And there's going to be a lot of people vying it out for top four, never mind the top spot itself. So really interesting to see what comes up there. And that's why I would encourage you to get involved in trying to write your 1 to 20 down pre-season. It's a lot more difficult than you think it will be when you come to actually write it down. Moving on to the next question from the fan takeover, we asked which team do we have to worry about most for this season? So who's going to be the biggest threat? And there was no real surprise here with what I mentioned earlier on in the show. So the lowest vote went to 9% for Arsenal, 14% went with Chelsea under Conte, 15% went with other. Interested to know who they might be, whether that's Tottenham, whether you think they'll be sticking around despite particularly poor investment, really. Wanyama, a decent player, certainly, but they already have a very good midfield, and Janssen up front, don't know how much more that's going to add to them. So interesting to know if they'll be in the thoughts of those of you who voted with other. Liverpool, of course, under Klopp, a lot being said about their pre-season after their 4-0 win against Barcelona. Slightly less being said about that the following day when they got beat 4-0 by Mainz, but I won't rub it too hard there. They are going to be a team in the mix, though, in all seriousness, despite the fact that I don't think they've recruited particularly well. I think Klopp now has had pretty much a full season, and obviously the summer, to set them up now. And I think they'll be in a good position for this season. Vying for the title, bit of a stretch with the current squad that they have, I think, but maybe some of you thought they'll be in the mix. No surprise, though, as I say, that the remaining 52% of you went with Manchester City. In fact, 62% rather. It'd help if I could add up to 100. So 62% went with Manchester City. They seem the obvious team to be up there vying for the title against us. So I think we've already sort of covered that earlier on with what I was saying, but yeah, certainly Manchester City seem to be the biggest threat to us. So who's going to be the biggest threat from us to other teams is where we focused the next point of questioning. Who will be the club's leading goal scorer? Will it be Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford, Wayne Rooney, or Zlatan Ibrahimovic? There's a 4 to have in your team. Going from bottom to top, 2% went with Wayne Rooney. I imagine C-Clay 1978 United, and probably producer Joe, probably amongst the two to get involved on voting for him, perhaps. 5% went with Marcus Rashford, 12% for Anthony Martial, and 81%, a huge number of you going with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Of course, brings bags full of goals from other leagues. Whether he can transfer that at the ripe old age of 34? We shall soon find out. Firing through onto the final question from the fan takeover this week. How many major trophies will Jose bring to Old Trafford in his first season? 6% of you said none at all. 13% thought 3, which might be a bit ambitious. 37% of you said 1, and 44% said 2. Interested to know what you think those trophies might be that he'll bring in. Certainly Jose will bring in an instant impact, as well as the signings, if they settle quickly, will really build as a strong season. We will be vying for the Premier League, so there's potentially one trophy that I think we'll push very close towards, or certainly should be doing now with the squad we have put together and the management team behind that. 2, I mean, it's not out the realms of possibility. I mean, it's going to be a difficult season. There's a lot of competition in every trophy now, even down to the League Cup. So whether or not we can, pick up the FA Cup and the Premier League title, I mean, that'd be an incredible season. Don't think it'll happen personally myself, but it's good to be ambitious, and it's good that the negative, comments and the negative feelings around the club have ebbed away very quickly, and the man who shall not be named any further has now gone and left us in a lot more positive spot with Jose Mourinho coming in. I'm just going to end up the show and the fan takeover section of it by discussing a prediction around the scores for Bournemouth and what we might expect from them. Of course, this Sunday at 1:30 kickoff. First game of the season. Whether or not the likes of Pogba, you'll see him at all, having just been brought in, I doubt it. Maybe an appearance from the bench late on if we manage to take the lead. Interesting to see whether players like Mkhitaryan get their start after a bizarre couple of minute spell in the Community Shield. But it's going to be a really tough game. Bournemouth, on the back of a very good season under Eddie Howe, of course, beat us at the Vitality last season with a Josh King goal, separating the sides by the end of it. So they're really going to be up for it again. They're going to be full of belief, and they'll be wanting to kick on. Eddie Howe certainly has big dreams of where he can take the club, even if he's trying to stop his players from letting those dreams get to them. But I mean, with the players and the team that we have available, you've got to hope for a positive start. Mourinho needs to make an impression early doors, and you've got to hope now that the players are up to speed, even though they have looked a little bit lacklustre in parts. So I personally am going to say that we're going to scrape a 2-1 victory, so the reverse of the score from last season at the Vitality. I think Bournemouth are going to be open to scoring. I think whilst we're getting our defence sorted out, I think they'll definitely create chances, and they've got talent to worry us, certainly. But I think we will come out on top and get the 3 points on the first day of the season for us. It's important to get off to a good start, so I can't really predict anything other than that. In terms of the predictions that came in, some of them perhaps a little bit more realistic than others. At Copious Opium went with 16-0 to Manchester United. Did thankfully revise that, despite feeling good, and went for 3-1. At C-Clay 1978 United said, I'm going for a 3-0 United victory. There's the usual optimism we can only expect from Chris Clay. At Cogsy666 and at Bucko7, both go with 2-1 like myself. At Big C75 says that we're going to go 1-0 down but win 3-1. Jambook0 agrees 3-1 to United as well. At MBagX says 3-0 to United, and at B2K Samos goes with 4-1. So everyone feeling in confident mood, not just ahead of the Bournemouth game but ahead of the season. But will it come into fruition under Mourinho? Be interesting to see. We'll be back hopefully in the next week or two with Nick and producer Joe. We're looking forward to it very much. And thanks as always for listening. Do tweet us at WeFollowUnited with your thoughts. Do comment below. Do like the video and subscribe if you're new as well for regular content that will be coming, we promise. We will be back. Enjoy your weekend.